Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk Health Facebook Live Show, episode 16. I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and blogger of Let's Talk Kids Health. As you know, the concept of this show is to share information about behavioral health and wellness for children and families everywhere. Now, each week, I plan to bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can all talk together. Now, remember, if you're viewing this live, make sure that you give us a comment. Let us know you're here. Use hashtag live. And remember, you'll be able to post comments and ask questions of my guest. Now, the replay will be immediately available when we end this broadcast. So if you're watching and you think, oh, somebody should really be seeing this, make sure to share this episode with them. And if you don't want to miss future episodes, or maybe check out some of my past ones, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer, MD, and follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health. So now on to this week's guest. Let's welcome Linda Akers. Linda was taught hypnosis by her father, who was a psychiatrist. She has a background in psychology and a second degree in nursing from Indiana University. She was trained in clinical hypnotherapy at Cleveland Clinic after working as a registered nurse for 3 years. She went on to open an office in Carmel, Indiana over 4 years ago, where she helps children and adults with a range of behavioral and mental health issues using hypnotherapy. I am so excited to have you here, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited too to share what I do with you.
Well, before we get started, I love your story of how you got started. Do you mind just sharing, briefly with the viewers and the listeners here, how you got interested in this, in hypnotherapy?
Sure. Well, actually, my father's father owned a toy and novelty shop, a magic section, and he would read the different books on hypnosis. And so he actually started when he was younger. Then he went on to go to medical school at Yale and was a psychiatrist. And he used that in his practice all the time. And he actually taught me when I was very young how to do self-hypnosis for anxiety and for just, various situations that might come up where I needed that. And I was really interested in it. And he would kind of talk to me about what to do, how to do it, and the process. And so he really taught me a lot. And we were planning on opening a practice together because he was going to retire here. And that didn't actually work out. He passed before that could happen. So I kind of realized, well, I could do that. He taught me a lot. I had his notebooks, I had his guidance through the years. And so then I went on to just get my certifications and learn a little bit more. And and then I opened up 4 years ago.
Oh, I know, Linda, that he would be so proud of you. I mean, yeah. Oh, what a story. Yeah. Well, just I see that folks are hopping on. I love it. So just so that we can get off on the right footing here, because I think hypnosis, it's not, well known. It's not part of mainstream per se, right? So let's start off with what is hypnosis exactly?
Yeah, well, hypnosis is actually getting into the subconscious mind. And the way you do that is through just someone kind of guiding you to feel very calm and relaxed, because it's a more extreme state of calm and relaxation than you might normally be able to access on your own. And once you're there in the subconscious, you can access your past memories, thoughts, feelings, some behaviors, and why you may kind of be triggered to feel certain ways. And then hypnotherapy is what I do, where I apply therapeutic techniques while under hypnosis.
Cool. So, thank you for that, because I think there's some, again, people might have some preconceived notions of what it is. And so I think that's a lovely definition there for them. I mean, and thinking about this, right? And the title of the talk is, hypnosis and kids or pediatrics. What type of condition can hypnosis be used for if someone is interested?
Well, hypnosis can be used in, hypnotherapy can be used in all of the same conditions that you would go to see a therapist for. So that's a lot. That would be like OCD, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, mood disorders, traumas, school performance, sports performance. So yeah, quite a wide range. And because it really helps you to take control of your emotions, thoughts, feelings, behaviors. So because of that, that's kind of the goal that most therapies are going for anyways, and that's why you can use it in all of those scenarios.
And it's interesting to me that, I mean, it can be applied to a wide range of conditions. And,
Mm-hmm.
For those watching and their curiosity is piqued, like what would a typical session be if they were to come see you or someone who does hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so there's no typical session because everyone's unique, but I usually start out getting some background information, health history, if they have current diagnoses, what kind of medication that you might be on, and then getting into just some background questions about where you think the issue may have started and why, when that would have happened, which some people are not always able to remember, and that's okay because that's why we go to the subconscious, to try to investigate that. And then I would ask about dreams and nightmares because the subconscious is very active, obviously, at that time when you're sleeping and not so much when you're awake. So often a lot of symbolism might be thrown out at that time. And then I would kind of guide you into that relaxation that we talked about and do appropriate therapeutic techniques at that time. And then afterwards, just kind of talk about what I did, what we are looking for, and then if there might be any homework to help reinforce it.
I'm curious, Linda, just because as I think about like my own practice and the kids that I serve, the patients that I serve, like what is the youngest you could actually do hypnotherapy with?
The youngest that I have worked with was 3 years old.
Uh-huh.
So as long as the child doesn't have any, impairments to intelligence or, and if they're even a little bit above average intelligence, then you can work with them. A lot of times children do not like the words that adults might hear for cues to relax, like sleep and down. They don't, they may not like that. So I can actually do a form of therapy that is like an Ericksonian, just talking therapy that is just as effective. And with that, they're able to still go where I need them to go.
So cue words you were just saying. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so that might be part of the misperception about hypnosis is that you say words like sleep and you're feeling very calm and clear your mind, but it's actually not. That isn't what I'm looking for people. You don't have to go to sleep. Some people do, but I'm not expecting that. You don't have to feel like you're in this like zombie trance. Often people focus in a way that they are very much aware of what's going on around them. So when you think about when you're going to study for a test, for example, you might, close the shades and turn off the TV and try to reduce distractions. So that's actually similar to what I'm doing. And the purpose of that is to focus on the information so you can absorb it and retain it.
So you're talking about a combination of sort of really fine-tuned attention, but also relaxation at the same time.
Yes.
Is that what they?
Yeah, and that's why it's difficult to attain without someone kind of guiding you there and someone that may be aware of like the body cues and the physical cues.
Yeah.
Because what I'm looking for might be a shudder, or it might be REM eye movement. It might be kicking your foot when you're relaxed, when I'm saying a significant word. Like if your issue is anxiety, sometimes someone's neck will jerk or their foot will jerk because the body's saying, hey, pay attention now. So yeah, there are all different cues that I look for. And yeah, and children exhibit them just as well as adults.
Okay. Well, so can I ask you this? So since we're living in the time of COVID, I'm not quite sure. Are you seeing folks in person, or can you do this virtually through remote work?
You can do this virtually, but I would say the caveat is I really like to have people in person because of what I said. So there are very subtle cues that I'm looking for in body language and even in the face, because if someone is experiencing something that seems emotionally intense, I want to be able to see that. And if they're slumping off the screen,
Yeah.
because they're so relaxed, then, or if I can't hear them that well, then I really don't want to miss any of that. And I want to be able to attend to it as soon as it happens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, I see patients in my office, and that is what I prefer. But some of the introductory sessions can be done on Zoom, I think.
Now, I know you covered like a typical session or, as typical as you can make it, but is it like 30 minutes? Is it 45 minutes? Like, is there a length of time to
Yeah,
expect?
it's about an hour. It's generally maybe 20 minutes of the pre-talk and about 30 minutes of the session. And then, a little bit afterwards, just to kind of help reinforce whatever it is that we're working on.
Great. And is there a minimum number of sessions? Like if someone were to sign up, like that you say, we should at least try it for X number of sessions?
I would say most issues can be resolved with a fairly good result within 3 to 6 sessions.
Wow.
So often what happens is, because everyone's different, sometimes the issue will be cleared up, or at least to a manageable stage within a few sessions. So, but then something else may pop up. It's kind of like things are being stuffed underneath. So, anger, then there's sadness under that. So often when you work in the subconscious, then the subconscious may throw other things out for you to work on. And I just address those as needed. And, if they're, areas that, someone feels like they can manage for a while, then we can stretch out our sessions and I can see them in 2 weeks or 1 month or, whatever they're comfortable with.
Sure. Well, and my last question before I go to comments from viewers are there certain factors that make someone much more suitable for hypnosis or hypnotherapy than others?
Yeah. They say that a certain portion of the population is not hypnotizable. And I actually haven't found that to be true. Out of the thousands of patients that I've had, I would say there were a handful that were not. And they may have had lower than average intelligence, or they were impaired in some way. So because of that, that would be the only situation, because I think hypnosis, or the state of hypnosis, is a very natural state. It's where we kind of learn information during the day and then we process it at night, because we can't have all of that in our mind as we're going through our day, because we just couldn't function with all of that. So I do think it's a natural state that everyone can achieve. But I will say that children, they can get there faster because they're so imaginative, and because they're actually in that state more often. They go to REM more frequently than adults do, and that is because they need to learn quickly and absorb information fast. And plus they tend to take what an adult would say and and really try to understand it, versus an adult that may reject what you're saying. So and they also don't have that whole lifetime of experience they have to go through to figure out what that core reason is. So children are very much helped by this a little bit faster.
Yeah. Well, so let's turn it to our guests, our viewers here. So, Ashley said she's really excited to listen. She's watching live. Hello, Ashley. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi.
So she does have a question. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to take it off the screen so we could see you. She says that my son has anxiety and ADHD, so her curiosity is already piqued in how this can help him in general. However, she does have a particular issue that she's wondering about. her son has been struggling with itching for the past year, and it started with a reaction to something, and she's not exactly sure from what. But he had red bumps, and then the dermatologist thinks he continued scratching as it healed. Because healing skin can itch. And now she thinks he just might be mindlessly scratching without having any real issue.
Right. So, Ashley, that's actually a really good question, because I do see that a lot. I see children who have excoriation and skin picking disorders, and hair pulling disorders, and often ADHD and anxiety. They're all very much related and clustered together. So it makes a lot of sense. Often when children find relief, so in that situation, scratching an itch would be very relieving. Sometimes they associate that scratching relief with finding relief in other areas. So what I would want to do is kind of go down to the time that it started and go to the core reason why it started. And under hypnosis, it's much more magnified and intense. So they're able to re-experience it and then process it and get some meaning out of why it started, when it started, and then replace the behavior with something that would be healthier. So rather than maybe scratching at your skin, which also would make you feel bad about yourself, that maybe you'd have sores and things like that. So it would kind of create this cycle that you feel bad about yourself, and so you have to relieve that. Do some breathing exercises or some homework that would help him to kind of take some control over that situation, and to realize that moment that it's starting, that he's able to stop that. And that can happen within the subconscious fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, as we're talking out loud, and is, when you're working with a child, I'm assuming that the parent is not in the room with you.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would prefer there to be just myself and the patient, because often if there's another person there, they'll play up to that person, or there may be a little bit of a power struggle. Like, does mom want me to do this? Or they may not fully get out what it is that they need to say. And whether or not parents like it, sometimes parents will come up in the sessions, and in ways that you're not expecting. And I don't want that to be suppressed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure you have a way, though, to share with the parent afterwards what it is that they're working on, so that they can support the child to practice at home.
Yeah, absolutely. With the homework that I give, and it's fairly easy homework that children tend to like, because it makes them feel good and it shows them that they are getting some control over their problem. So they enjoy it. But sometimes, in the case, if you notice that the child might be doing their, skin picking or scratching, then you can say, oh, remember to do this, remember to do that. And then that way they'll just be reminded. And that's always helpful, because they may not be aware, because sometimes it's so automatic that they just do the behavior without associating the fact that they need to replace the behavior. But generally, I'll speak with parents afterwards about how everything went, and they're always welcome to email me as well questions, because I may not, get too much into it because the child is there. So yeah. But if you have more questions, you're always welcome to contact me.
Yeah, for sure. So again, anybody watching this episode, obviously answers to these questions do not replace, it's not medical advice. So again, you need to sort of do an intake with Linda, or, talk with your child's pediatrician with any of this information that you hear today. So Thomas dropped in and said, thanks for having this conversation.
Well, he's enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, Ashley, I think we'd love to try this. So how far out are you booked? Or how do they get a hold of you, or anybody viewing this?
Yeah. So my schedule is online, and you can book online. I only had it for 30 days out, but then everything was booked recently. So then I had to make it 60 days out. And those are hours that I generally keep for new patients. So if it absolutely does not work for you, then just let me know. And, I can look at another time that might be a little better for you. But those are the hours that I would prefer. But that is on my site. And if you have any questions that are more specific after looking through, the FAQs, then you can contact me, and see if this might be a good fit for you. And yeah, and we can figure it out from there.
Yeah. And your other answer to like the skin picking, obviously, hair pulling, that's a difficult one in kids. I have several patients who do that. Obviously, we're managing some of it with medication, but that building that awareness even to the fact that they're doing it. Do you find that hypnotherapy would be helpful in those kinds of situations or those kinds of behaviors?
Yes, I think it's extremely helpful because in those moments they do tend to kind of focus in but not realize what they're doing. So they have this kind of automatic negative behavior that they're not even aware of. So once you become aware, I mean, that's kind of the point of therapy, right? Is to become aware of why you're doing something so you can address it. So that's where I really see that they start making the connection that, okay, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm not just doing it. And, I don't like it. Why am I doing this? But, there does tend to be a reason why we continue something. And it may have started when they were a lot younger. So they might not remember necessarily.
Mm.
That's why I like to go back into the memories and try to find, when it started occurring. And it usually does have to do with relief of some kind or, just boredom sometimes too. And I think with children that have those focus issues, it does give them something to focus on. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I think, especially for families who are um, having a hard time with those types of behaviors, I think sometimes they feel a little bit like, I don't know how to even begin to raise awareness because every time I point it out, the child gets upset, angry, frustrated at me. And
Mhm.
right. And so I hear that a lot from some parents. They're like, I don't know how to address this because I don't want them to keep pulling or doing this, but
Mhm.
I also don't want to make my child upset or more self-conscious about it.
Mhm. Yeah, it can be difficult for parents to be the one that to bring it up to their children because then,
Yes.
yeah, because children are predisposed to think that, we're shaming them or just nagging. So, yeah, that's why it's really helpful to have, a third party observer kind of come in and build that rapport and just, who knows how to kind of get that information out without it being prying. And yeah, I have a lot of children that they'll come in and they're very, they're closed off because they don't want to talk about it. Often they haven't even named it. Like I'll ask them, what do you call it? And some people will say my OCD. And it's like,
Mm.
oh, okay, so you've claimed that, and then they realize, oh wait, I guess I don't have to like own this. But then some children, they're like, I don't talk about it at all. I don't think about it. So it's important for them to be aware that, yes, this is happening. Yes, this is, related to probably something else that has happened in the past, but we can address it.
Mhm. Yeah. And I know, as a pediatrician, we're talking about kids right now, but can you just briefly share, like, what are some of the conditions that you use hypnotherapy for adults?
Yeah, for adults,
Mhm.
all of the reasons, that I do with children, but also with career enhancement. Public speaking is a big one.
Mm.
That's a fear that's high up there on the list for people. A lot of times there are traumas that may come up later in life as well. So, um, anxiety, stress, that's job related or home related, relationship related. So yeah, they're pretty much anything that you would see a therapist for can be, you'd be a good candidate for what I do.
Mm-hmm. And do you do like weight loss or smoking cessation, those
Yeah, I do
topics?
a lot of the traditional as well,
Uh-huh.
but I do it a little bit differently because I think that you really need to address the core reasons because, eating behaviors, it's never just eating, and smoking isn't just smoking behavior. There's generally something that is underlying that keeps us doing that behavior. So I like to address that first and then give them a healthier replacement and then work on it because I don't want them to just go out and say, okay, yeah, I feel great for a week. And then as soon as they're triggered, then they just go right back to their behavior that they were trying to get rid of. So I think that's better for the long lasting results to get to the core reasons for why they're triggered and then work on the more traditional hypnosis after.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this has been great sort of hearing about this because if anything, again, like I said, it's not necessarily a therapy that even I think some pediatricians think of, or maybe they're not aware that there are people who do this in the community. And so I think this has been a really helpful conversation today. So thank you so much for joining and talking to us and sharing your passion for this work because I think it's absolutely invaluable.
Thank you. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for inviting me and giving me, the platform to just talk about it a little bit and make people more aware. Sadly, there is kind of a misperception in the media and, in movies about what it is. And so I
Yes.
just want people to know that, it can be a great complement to what they're currently doing. And, it's just another way and another tool that we have to feel better.
Yeah, I love that, Linda. So I hope those of you who are watching this are excited to learn more. I'll be sharing some resources on the show notes, so that way there's a direct link there if you're interested in learning more and maybe looking at the FAQs that Linda referred to that are on her website as well. Thank you for being part of the conversation today, everybody. And I just want to tell you too that our next week's guest is Dr. Amy Ho. She's an emergency room physician, and she will be talking about empowering girls to do it all. And it's going to be on Thursday, May 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, remember, anybody can suggest future topics and guests, so please feel free to reach out to me at letstalkkidshealth@gmail.com. Drop me a comment below or on social media. And remember, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer, MD, to be alerted every week when I go live and follow my blog Facebook page. Linda, thanks again. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Narissa, and have a nice Mother's Day.
You too.